Kia ora everyone, thank you for joining our conversation. We'll begin very shortly. Kia ora everyone, thank you for joining our conversation. We'll begin shortly.
Yep. And we're live. Kia ora everyone, and thank you for joining the conversation. Today we have your student representatives along with some university representatives to talk about the proposal to combine the faculties of law with business and economics. I'm Gabriel Boyd, your AUSA president, and here are your student representatives.
Kia ora everyone, my name is Matthew and I'm your undergraduate education vice president.
Kia ora everyone, my name is Apurva and I'm your AULSS president representative.
Hi everyone, I'm Aurora. I'm one of your co-presidents for AUCSA and I'm also media officer for AULSS.
Kia ora everyone, my name's Brianna and I'm your other co-president of AUCSA.
Amazing. And now our university representatives.
Kia ora koutou, Adrian Cleland. I'm the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Operations and Registrar for the University.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Joanna Brown, Director of Student and Academic Services.
So this is just a reminder that today is your chance to ask questions and hear directly from the university. Please have your say. We have the link in our link tree. And also, the university's website has a feedback form for any concerns or complaints you don't wish to talk about today. So, up first, the university is going to give a brief overview of the proposal for a couple of minutes, and then our representatives will have a chance to ask questions.
Thanks, Gabriel. So I'll just repeat what the proposal is from the Vice-Chancellor. So the Vice-Chancellor is seeking feedback on a proposal to combine the faculties of Business and Economics and the Faculty of Law. Within that combined faculty, it is proposed that the identities of the business school and the law school be maintained. Within the law school, it's proposed that two departments would be created. So the law school would expand with the addition of commercial law from the Faculty of Business and Economics and would increase to over 70 academic staff, and the proposal is for the law school then to be comprised of two departments. It is then further proposed that in the event it does go ahead, that there would be a transition leadership established to oversee the establishment of the combined faculty. And there is some outline in the proposal around how that would occur. I think just in my last couple of minutes around the rationale for the proposal. So the Vice-Chancellor has considered organisational effectiveness as part of the reason for the proposal. The Faculty of Law is now quite small compared to the other faculties in the university, and there is an opportunity to tighten the academic leadership of the university at the senior level. There's also organisational effectiveness benefits opportunity around academic leadership time in law and business and economics. So we did find from the consultation in the first round of faculty reorganisations for the establishment of the Faculty of Arts and Education that academic leadership in the small faculties was disproportionately taken up with administration, and the opportunity in a broader faculty was to release time for value add and strategic thinking and planning and leadership. There's a scale opportunity for resilience and flexibility, particularly at this time when the university sector is under significant external pressure and change. There should be broader research opportunities for staff and students as a result of the proposal, and there is an opportunity around equity on the critical mass of Māori and Pacific staff and students. So I'll stop there. I'm happy to answer questions.
Cool. Thank you, Adrian. Quickly, we were just informed that the mics weren't working during the introduction. So to clarify, I am AUSA President Gabriel Boyd, alongside Undergraduate Education Vice President Matthew Lee. We also have your student representatives. We have Apurva representing the law faculty, as well as Aurora and Bree representing the commerce faculty. On the university side, we have Adrian Cleveland, the DVC operations at the university, and Joanna Brown, the Director of Student and Academic Services here at the university. So again, the mics weren't working, but I encourage you to submit questions through our link, as well as give your feedback through the university's channel on their website. So now we will give the student representatives some time to respond to that opening introduction by Adrian.
Thank you for your opening. I just had a question. So you said that the identities of both law school and business school will be maintained. Could you please elaborate on the specifics on exactly how the identities will be maintained? Thank you.
Thanks, Aurora. So some of those details would be pursued by the new leadership of the combined faculty. But what is envisaged is that there would be a separation within the new faculty between the business school and the law school. In some ways, this is responding to the requirements of our accreditation bodies. So we do need to be able to provide reporting and many other aspects of the activities of the business school and the law school. So to our accreditation bodies, and that includes the Council of Legal Education as well, of course. So it would be organisationally, there would be some separation there. I think too, it's likely that there would be separation in terms of branding, in terms of communications, the way our website is organised, because the identities are important to the university and have stood us in very good stead, as both the law school and the business school are highly regarded nationally and internationally.
So what about the structure of both schools? Because law school works very differently to every other faculty within the university just because of how a law degree is structured. So could you elaborate a little more about how the structure could potentially change with the proposed amendment? So
the proposal itself sets out one option there, which was to have 2 departments. And we are receiving feedback from a number of staff within both the Faculty of Law and Faculty of Business and Economics around whether that is the best arrangement. I'm not really in a good position to say whether that's the best arrangement or not. So the review committee will consider all of those pieces of feedback that come through from the academic staff around what works best. Internationally, when you look at how other law schools have been organised, there are some examples of where a law school has been organised into departments. More often, I understand, they are organised into kind of research subjects or topics or areas, topic areas, and academic staff can align with one or more of those. So it will be interesting to see the totality of the feedback that comes through and where the review committee might get to on recommending a future structure.
Awesome. And sorry, just another follow-up to that. So how can students have confidence in the university's promise that the separate identities of the faculties will be meaningfully maintained when none of the details have really been worked on yet?
I think where you can have confidence is that the university is absolutely committed to triple accreditation for the business school and ongoing professional accreditation for the law school. So that requires us in many ways to have a separate identity for both of those schools, and I think you can have confidence about that.
Amazing, thank you. I just had a quick question on the point you made on how the law faculty is becoming as one of the smallest ones, is what you'd say.
Yes.
What would you say, and you also mentioned that a large part of the faculty is taken up by the administrative staff. How would the absence of such staff who play a vital part in the support of law students be filled or reasoned with if there are possible cuts to those areas?
I need to clarify what I said first, just around my opening comment. So what I was trying to communicate there was around the time spent by academic leadership, not the professional staff.
Okay.
So what the feedback that we'd had in the proposal to create the new Faculty of Arts and Education was that in the small faculties, they still had the burden of all of that administration that a large faculty needed to undertake in terms of the Associate Dean Academic, the regulations, that academic leadership.
Okay.
And they found that with the limited amount of time they had to devote to academic leadership, it was largely being spent on administrative activities, and they were identifying an opportunity there to have more time to think strategically and to to spend time on value-add activities. So that was one of the benefits that they saw. In terms of professional staff, there would be a response to any decision that is made. So in the event a proposal goes ahead for a combined faculty, at that point there would be work done on responding to that decision with respect to academic leadership or an academic leadership structure. I think for this proposed new faculty it would be quite unique because we would need to, within that structure, maintain the law school and the business school
I think we're going to have to move into our Q&A now.
Oh, yeah,
I
okay.
hope that gave everybody a little bit of an overview about the proposal. But we're going to jump straight into the questions that you guys sent us to ask. So one of the first questions and one of the most commonly asked questions is that we all saw that the arts merger, there was a lot of contention surrounding that. How is this combination, how is this proposal different from the arts merger?
Well, with this new combination, there are two professional faculties with accreditation, and I think that's an inherent difference. So that will need to be considered and has been considered by the Vice-Chancellor in the proposal itself in terms of maintaining those separate identities
So
between the
less
law
of a-
school and
less
the
of a
business and
merger.
economic. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Another question, which the answer should be relatively short, is students want to know, will the names that they get on their degree, their particular accreditations, will that name differ at all? Will that change at all on their degree?
That will not change at all.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Did you have a? Oh,
Just
okay.
agreeing. Yeah.
Following up from that, with this merger, a lot of people are concerned about the reputation and qualifications taking a hit, as well as the global standing of the law or business schools. How do we know that this won't be the case and that it'll make the degree stronger and won't hurt the qualification?
So the arrangement is not particularly unusual. So when we've had a look at a benchmarking group that we often kind of compare ourselves to, which includes the group of 8 universities in Australia, so they're the highest ranked universities there, and the Russell Group universities in the UK, the majority of those universities, it appears that the law school is part of a broader faculty. That might not be very evident to external audiences or stakeholders. And it doesn't appear to have impacted the reputation for any of those law schools. The ranking for the law school is made up from the reputation and the excellence of the research output for the academic staff at the university, and that's the same as those universities in the group of 8 and the Russell Group. In and of itself, the proposal is not expected to have an impact on the rankings of the schools.
Adrian, we've gotten a lot of questions about sort of other universities having gone through similar proposals, and actually, for example, the University of Canterbury previously merged their law and business faculties, but they had to undo their sort of that merge. And we've seen other universities in New Zealand consider similar proposals and ditch that proposal, and even around the world as well. So I guess the question is, how is our proposal and our situation different?
I don't know the details of why Canterbury may or may not have done all of that, Matthew, but I can make some kind of I have some idea that it may have been around how things were organised to ensure that accreditations were ongoing and able to be pursued. So the University of Auckland is absolutely determined to continue with triple accreditation for the business school and appropriate accreditation for the law school, and in any design decisions that would take precedence, really. So that's very important to us. And as I just said before, it's not an unusual organisation across the world. There are, of course, law schools that are completely independent in many well-ranked universities, but there are also many law schools that are well-ranked that are part of broader faculties.
So just to follow up on that, this proposal that has come through from the Vice-Chancellor, the question is around how long the Vice-Chancellor had to consider this proposal and I guess do research on how other universities have arranged their law and business faculties. What sort of research or even just asking around other universities has she done before submitting this proposal for consultation?
It's probably not a question for me. Happy to pass that on to her at a reasonable time.
Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you. Moving on, another major concern students have was regarding the staff of both of the schools, not just the academic staff, but the pastoral care staff, the academic support staff, and the career advice staff. So the students wanted to know, will there be staffing cuts? Do we know for sure? How do we know that this won't reshape how those different support systems work?
Okay. So I might answer the question about academic staff and around cost more generally, and then so Joanna can respond around the professional staff. So in and of itself, this proposal would not have any impact on academic staffing in either of those faculties. So the resource allocation around academic staffing is made really around the student-staff ratios across the different areas, and that isn't impacted at all by this proposal. There would be a change in the academic governance structure, so that's around the associate dean positions, and that would be something that would be designed if it is decided to go ahead with the combined faculty. In terms of costs, and we have had queries elsewhere, and that is the a real rationale for this proposal just around cost cutting. It is not around cost cutting. However, the University of Auckland, along with all universities in New Zealand, is facing significant financial challenge, and you'll be aware that our subsidy from government is not increased in line with inflation, and we are also not being funded for growth, so we're only being funded at the level of domestic enrolments in 2023. They're both quite challenging decisions from government. And so we are taking a broad range of initiatives right across the university around our cost base. We absolutely need to look at our costs as well as other opportunities to improve our financial position, because we are determined to remain financially sustainable in the longer term.
If we could move on to Joanna to talk about that pastoral staff as well.
Thanks, Gabriel. The university really recognises the importance of the pastoral care services and the career services as well, which we understand students have asked questions about. And within both the business school and the law school, they've developed a capability that actually meets the needs of our students and in line with employers and industry as well. And that's we don't want to disrupt that that benefit and that service that's been developed. And the university is constantly looking at changing at how it needs to support our students, needs to support our external communities as well. So our services never stay the same. They're always adapting and changing because of our internal and external environments, but we absolutely see the value, and we have worked alongside the faculties on the design of their services as well.
So
into the future.
it will impact the non-academic staff. We just don't have concrete information on how.
Well, we can't say how it's going to
Okay.
impact into the future, but we can say that the services that they provide are critical for the support
Yes.
of our students.
Yeah,
I
we all
think
agree
I
on
think
that.
it's important that the university do recognise that, because that is a student concern rather than a faculty concern or academic staff
Yes.
concern. So in particular, though, we are getting quite a few questions from the law side of things in regards to Māori and Moana Oceania students. We have, in my opinion, and the opinion of many students as well, a very concrete system in place to support them pastorally, whether that be through just the academic support, but also just the career support in particular as well. I did want a little bit more clarity, although I do appreciate that there isn't much right now, on whether there will be continued support in that avenue, particular to the law degree itself, because I know the business department do have their own avenues for that, but law is a very niche and intricate and complex degree on its own. So could you just speak to that a little bit if you had conversations regarding that side of things, or?
Taking careers to start with, for instance, we can see in the structure in both the Faculty of Business and Economics and the Faculty of Law that they have both prioritised resources in this area, so they both see it as really important. I think that makes sense because they're professional schools and they have a very close relationship with the professions.
Yeah.
So it would indicate to me, because of the current priority in both faculties, that when they combine, they will continue to have such a priority. For Māori and Pacific students and the level of pastoral care and student support provided, I do acknowledge that in law that has certainly been a priority for them, and they have prioritised resources in that area. I think have named roles to support Māori and Pacific students. I know that likewise would be a priority in the business school. And so, I can't, in terms of a combined faculty, I can't see why they would move away from current priorities when they're looking at their future structure. You can see, though, that there are likely to be changes in that structure, and we've indicated that in the proposal document itself, because there would be changes to the way it's organised, the management structure for professional staffing.
Did we have any more follow-ups about the staff, or are we ready to move to the next
I
question?
just had one other question. So around a quarter of the students at the business school are actually international students. So would there be any changes to the support or care they're receiving with the combined faculty?
Yes, probably a similar answer, actually. But yes, the business school is very successful in attracting international students, and particularly successful in taught postgraduate offerings to international students. And I think they are leading the university in terms of the way they provide support for those students. I currently, I can't see that the faculty would suddenly change direction and not want to support international students where they've been so successful in the past.
Okay.
Sorry, could I interrupt
Yeah,
really
of course.
quickly? And apologies if this comes off rude in any way. I just want to go back to, I guess, the rationale surrounding the proposal as a whole then. We have a lot of concerns from students about the cost-cutting rationale, which you have debunked and stated that it's not why this merger is going ahead. I personally believe there just needs to be a bit more clarity then in regards to why it's going ahead, if there's going to be a lot of changes to the professional staffing, particularly because, in my opinion, or the holistic law student opinion, we're on a very upwards trajectory in terms of building on what we've started on with our teaching staff, with our professional staffing, with our career staff, and like you said, the named roles assisting specific demographics. So could you just provide a bit more clarity then as to, if it's not affecting academic staff in any way, why are we merging the two faculties, or proposing to at least?
So that goes back to those other, the other rationale that the Vice-Chancellor has in the proposal. So there's the organisational effectiveness objectives around having fewer and similar-sized faculties at the executive level. There's the rationale around the effectiveness of academic leadership time and scale. There's the rationale around resilience, particularly in this current environment where we are looking ahead to the outcome of the review of the university sector and the research sector, and that the critical mass and economy, the scale provides in terms of having that resilience across a larger organisational unit. Just going back to the question around professional staff, I cannot say or give any guarantees that there won't be reductions in professional staff, but that is irrespective of whether there was a merger or not.
Right, okay.
Because over the whole university, we are having to look at our cost structures and we are reducing the number of staff, but that is not, attached to this particular proposal.
No, thank you for that.
Could I follow up on that? A lot of students watching live right now feel a little frustrated that obviously it is true that the university does need to look at its costs and how we can sort of in the face of incoming funding cuts for academia, just in general. We need to be cautious of how we structure our university. But I think a lot of students watching live right now have commented that they feel frustrated that this is a conversation that's happening while the university has made record profits over the past 5 years and, significant amount of surpluses. So how is it okay that we're talking about sort of cost-saving measures when actually the university is making surpluses?
Yes, I think you need to look under the hood a little when you're looking at some of the surpluses that we have been reporting, and we've been looking at how we explain those surpluses. So there are a number of elements in the surpluses that have been reported in the last 2 years that relate to non-cash items. And one of those, I don't want to bore you all with this, but in terms of our lovely new building B201, we were fortunate enough to have an interest-free loan there. And because of that, accounting standards have required us to say that that is a source of revenue, the fact that we got an interest-free loan. So that is part of, a very significant part actually, of the surplus that we have been reporting. That's going to change into a cost actually in future years, so it's one of the interesting intricacies of our accounting standards. So if you strip away those unusual items, our actually operating surplus is not significant. In terms of the TEC, that's the Tertiary Education Commission, they are wanting the universities to achieve a 4% operating surplus, so that's the surplus to revenue. We will not be able to do that on our current forecasts for several years, and a return to that level of sustainable surplus will require us to address a significant fiscal gap.
So I think it'll be maybe important for students then, if you're able to direct us to where we can find more clarity around this information. Is there anywhere we can go to read more about this?
You can read the annual reports on our public website, but that's a good point. I mean, we're happy to provide students more information around that. We certainly have provided that to staff on the intranet. So that's a good point, actually. Happy to take that further with you, Matthew, at some point.
Fantastic. Thank you. So another big question that a lot of students have was regarding the feedback and this perception that the feedback isn't being listened to or taken on board. We did a bit of homework before coming in today, and we read that the Criminal Bar Association here in New Zealand wasn't a big fan of this proposal. They came out against it, alongside prominent judges who were alumni here at the University of Auckland. We had some of our faculty representatives conduct surveys and found that of those who filled out the survey, over 90% of law students stated they were strongly against this merger, as did the majority of business students. So I guess the question is, how can we guarantee that the feedback that we have and the concerns that we have as students will be listened to? In the current structure, and I'm not sure how many people are aware of how it works, this proposal, when it goes up to council, they are advised to, but don't have to listen or take any of the feedback into account when they finalize their decision. So if there's overwhelming disappointment in this proposition or disagreement, or students are very bullish on a certain aspect being changed, how do we know that we'll be listened to?
So one of the safeguards that all stakeholders have is that the Vice-Chancellor has appointed a review committee with the chair being an ex-dean of the university, Professor John Hosking, and an independent party, I can't remember the name of who that is now, but on the review committee. So they will have access to all of the feedback that comes in. And we have invited members of the law profession and the business community to provide feedback directly as well. So that will be interesting for the review committee to see that. So that might mirror the feedback that you've had unofficially around the outside of the proposal, or it may not. But that all of that feedback will be analysed and all will be made available to members of the review committee. My own personal experience of these sorts of proposals in the past, I have been always impressed with how review committees here have considered feedback and have worked through quite complex matters that have been raised, and in general improved proposals as a result of consultation processes.
Fantastic, thank
so
you.
So hopefully that would happen again.
Fingers crossed.
Could I interject really quickly? I'd rather have a conversation here rather than just ask questions in a sense as well about this. Just to voice a bit of known frustration that the consultation period is over the summer break. This obviously was that the question that was...
That was coming.
That was what,
Oh,
yeah.
No, please
okay.
go ahead, though,
I just would rather have a conversation about this. I guess in a sense, what were the reasons for the university's hesitance to extend the consultation period when asked to do so? And also, I guess, that's my main question. Building off of that, we can talk more.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I do acknowledge the timing of the consultation period is particularly difficult for students. The Vice-Chancellor has acknowledged that, though, and you can see that we've got quite an extended period of consultation. So while it is at a difficult time for students, it does allow for some coming and going and different times of being away, hopefully to enable more people to respond. From what I understand, it doesn't appear to have stopped people making
No.
submissions.
No.
So that's a positive sign
Yes.
that we're not going to be making decisions in a vacuum. So we've
Yes.
actually had a high degree of interest to date in the proposal. But in terms of the previous faculty rearrangement, I think the consultation process there was around 3 weeks for submissions, and I think this time it might be 9 weeks, something like that. So we have looked to provide a longer period of time in response to that.
Okay.
To follow up and continue talking about the consultation process itself, I think one concern that a lot of people have is that this proposal is very general. A lot of questions you might not have answers to right now. It's a lot of, we'll see as the as the proposal evolves. But obviously the feedback period ends while we still have this lack of specifics on the proposal. So as more specifics start coming together, as we start to get a bigger picture or a more clear picture of what the proposal is, will there be another consultation period? Will students still be able to voice feedback and have that feedback heard?
So in terms of the process that's set out, the review committee will consider all the feedback and make some recommendations to the Vice-Chancellor. And those recommendations could be quite varied. I mean, it could be go ahead as recommended. It could be we recommend these changes. It could be that it's best that we don't go ahead. So there are different options there for the review committee. And the Vice-Chancellor would need to consider that and have a conversation with Senate and Council. So in terms of specifics, and if you are talking there about how the academic governance might look or the structure of the professional staff, if it was decided to go ahead in one way or another in whatever construction the Vice-Chancellor and Council might agree on, leadership would be appointed, so the Dean would be appointed across the combined faculty and would bring together a group to consider those matters of how to get to that next level of design and propose academic governance, professional staff structures and a strategy for the combined faculty.
Perfect, thank
Sorry.
you.
Sorry, just following up on that. So Section 127, subsection 1D of the Education and Training Act 2020 provides that a board and governing school has to give effect to Te Tiriti, and it gives 3 examples, and one of which is to working to ensure its plans and policies reflect tikanga Māori and Te Ao Māori, and the third one is to achieve equitable outcomes for Māori students. So will there be any opportunities for Māori, both staff and students, in the post-consultation period, maybe involvement of the review committee, that would for them to voice their thoughts on the whole consultation and its processes? Because currently there isn't any, there's minimal, if any, information on the consultation proposal itself on how they're involved in the whole process.
And if I can add, what actions are you guys, I guess, making to make sure that they're included in the conversation as well?
Yeah, so I know that the Pro Vice-Chancellor Māori has had conversations and with Māori staff, and so those views are being sought and absolutely will be a key part of the review committee considerations. And I think too, when you look at the new faculty arrangements that we had for arts and education, we had student representation, and we have again in this one student representation on the review committee. So those views hopefully represented there. And in the transition and the detailed design, yes, it will be important that the views of Māori and Pacific are incorporated.
Do you mind if I just jump in here? A lot of people watching online are actually quite concerned about the consultation process. So if we can just circle quickly back onto that. So, we've talked a little bit about the timing of the consultation coming out during summer. But part of that question is also, you've mentioned that there is a review committee, which for everyone watching here, so both Gabriel and I will be on the review committee. So will representatives from AULSS and AUCSA. And obviously we'll be there to make sure that feedback from students are heard. Yeah. But the concern that a lot of students have is once the review committee makes their recommendation to the Vice-Chancellor, first of all, will that report be made public for students to read? What's the feedback that's coming through from students? And the second question is, does the Vice-Chancellor can the Vice-Chancellor or can Council simply ignore the feedback that is coming through and the advice of Senate? Is that possible for them to just ignore and proceed even if everyone has come out against it?
Sorry, and just off topic really quickly, just remember, if you have a question, please submit it through our question form. It's in the AUSA, AUCSA, AULSS Instagram bios, because that's what we're monitoring, not the YouTube chat. Thank you.
So in terms of legislation and the ability for Council and the Vice-Chancellor to make decisions, the requirement is to seek the advice of Senate. In this instance, and in most of the reviews that our Vice-Chancellor has initiated here, she has established a review committee to advise her and has generally taken their advice. However, that is not a legal requirement. It is advice.
So is there a guarantee then that the Vice-Chancellor won't just, listen, take the advice and then ignore the advice? Is there a guarantee that that won't happen?
Well, there's not a legal guarantee that that cannot happen. Yeah.
And just to circle back to the first part of that question, will a report from the review committee be made publicly available to students?
It's an interesting question, but there is a summary report from the review committee that is made available. Yes, that would go to Senate, and that would be basically publicly available. We don't make available all of the submissions from individuals. We respect privacy of people, so that won't be made available. Nor would the deliberations of the review committee. That's confidential. But the actual summary of the findings of the review committee will be put into a report that would then be made available.
And actually, there was a question asked as well, and I think Gabriel raised this earlier as well, that the consultation period is ending in 5 days, and then if the proposal goes ahead, it'll happen Q3 of 2025, which is very soon. And like Gabriel alluded to earlier as well, there's not a lot of clarity as to how the proposal will actually look in reality. So after the review committee has reviewed the submissions that have come through, and then when Senate and Council and the Vice-Chancellor considers this proposal further and adds more depth to it, will there be additional opportunities for students to consult on a updated version of the proposal?
So I suppose the answer to that is it depends. It depends really on what decisions are made. So if the decision is made to go ahead with a proposal that is reasonably consistent with the current proposal, then it's likely that there wouldn't be a further round of consultation on that. If the decision is made to do something particularly different, then it would be a judgment matter for the Vice-Chancellor whether she wanted to go and consult on that again. So, in past exercises, it does depend on how different the proposal, the adopted decision is to the original proposal.
Thank you. Do you guys have any follow-ups?
I just wanted to clarify, we are getting a question about student experience in particular. A lot of the viewers right now do believe that it's clear there's going to be no change in the student experience apart from, I guess, pastoral services and careers support and stuff. But the main question is, how is it going to improve academic student experience? Is the proposal then more so just a behind-the-scenes restructure, or is it going to actually change the academic side of things as well? I know you said that the academic staffing won't change significantly, but the leadership will. But from a student point of view, then what can you expect, I guess, is my question.
Well, this was really me surmising, because I don't know what the future might bring, but you could see opportunities for, in terms of law programs, for law to leverage off the significant capability that the Faculty of Business and Economics has in postgraduate taught. So potentially there could be additional postgraduate programs offered by the law faculty, which has got a relatively low number of postgraduate students. So I think our law school here has around about 9% postgraduate, and that's relatively low. So that's potentially an opportunity, and more opportunities for students to study at postgraduate level. There are also, opportunities, and I think they were pointed out in the proposal around research. So both faculties have research centres, Faculty of Business Economics probably more so than law, and some of those actually quite relevant across both faculties. So potentially more opportunities for research students and for academic staff to access research funding and to collaborate with other colleagues.
Right, could I interject again? Sorry. I want to go back to talking about the separation of two departments into private and public then when it comes to research and just the benefits that business and economics, I guess, offer. What's going to happen to the more, I guess, public-leaning courses such as international law, human rights, Indigenous studies? Will there be adequate funding provided to those specific areas? Or, I mean, the frustration and concern from a lot of students is, what about the niche sort of areas that of interest that are being, I guess, almost submerged underneath commercial, corporate sort of aspects of merging business and economics with law? Could you speak to that a little bit?
If I could just add on to
Yes.
that as well, we've gotten some comments about sort of the feeling of the private-public law department split, feeling somewhat like a one and then other sort of view. So the idea is that it seems like commercial law is the one that we have a huge focus on, and then all other sort of niche parts or just other parts of law that are very significant and very important to our society just feel like they're grouped into an other category. So just to add on to Purva's question.
Well, I'm sorry that might have come through the proposal. It certainly, from my understanding, has never been the intention. There isn't a preference for one part of law to any other part of what is offered by the Faculty of Law. And the law school would continue to consider what subjects and courses it wishes to offer.
Okay.
So this proposal in and of itself is not intended to make any changes to that. I'd also say that both the law school and the business school are strong academic units. They are well regarded and many students wish to study these subjects, and the university would respond accordingly as well. So, we look forward to providing education and courses where there is demand and students are wanting to study those areas.
Can I just interject here with more business school specific queries? So there is a huge focus on commercial law, but commercial law is only a very small part of the BCom degree or a commerce degree in general. And just bring this back to world rankings. So the University of Auckland Business School, according to the QS World Rankings, we're number 3 for Master of Management, and we're top 50 for marketing. Would the focus on commercial law take away focus on these other subjects?
I can't see why this proposal would take away any focus on subjects in the business school. So the business school is keen to be well ranked and keen to be.
Sorry, if you could just speak directly into the microphone. Yeah. Thank you. Just so people can hear clearly. Thank you.
How's that? The university is very invested in its business school and its law school, and is really keen for them both to flourish in the future. We're proud of them. We're really keen for them to continue to be successful. And this proposal is in no way designed to diminish either.
Sorry, just bringing it back to subject specific. Since there's such a huge focus on commercial law, will it take away focus on the other subjects, as in funding, resources, stuff like that?
So resources and funding in terms of the university's finances is associated with the number of enrolments we receive in particular courses. So the funding for commercial law relates to the number of enrolments we have in commercial law. So it's not related to how we organise either of those, the business school or the law school.
So-
Faculties are always reviewing their offerings to make sure they're current and contemporary and resonate with our students and community. So that's part of the normal processes any faculty's strategy would go through.
So just to follow up on the sort of place of the law school within the new business faculty, I guess the question that's come through is, then if you're saying that commercial law isn't the sole focus, then how can public law possibly have a meaningful place in a business-centric faculty? And I guess if the focus isn't on commercial law, then why combine with the with the Faculty of Business and Economics? Why not, for example, the Faculty of Arts?
Now that's an interesting question, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a number of submissions on that very question. So in quite a number of universities, where the law school is part of a larger faculty, it is often associated with the social sciences. And that's something that the review committee and the Vice-Chancellor can consider. There are also quite strong arguments to be associated with the business school, and particularly around, not so much around subject matter, but around relationships with professions, how professional programs work, accreditations, that kind of thing. So it will be interesting to see the balance of feedback that the review committee see.
Just on the topic of the review committee, it was mentioned before that industry professionals could potentially have a say in the review process. So if the feedback were to come back and the industry may not feel so positively about the proposal, I just have a question on how that would affect the current executive in residence and the entrepreneur in residence programs that the business school currently leads. Like, how would that impact the relationship that these industry professionals have with the business school, and how would that impact the student experience overall?
Not quite sure I understand your question. Are you saying that because there might be some negative perceptions of this, they would stop supporting things? Is that what you're saying?
Potentially. Nothing concrete yet.
So that's something that the university needs to consider, isn't it, around the potential benefits of such a proposal that it sees in terms of its strategy and organisational effectiveness, and how it's perceived by its important stakeholders. And absolutely, the business community and the law profession is really important to the university, so we do need to take their views into account. And we're wanting to provide, great benefits to them. So we would not be wanting to have either of those communities upset with the university and not wanting to support the law school or the business school.
But I think actually Aurora raises a really good point about career progression, is that, right now we've already seen a lot of industry professionals, within the law profession, many judges and lawyers who are alumni of the university have come out really concerned about the proposal. And I think a lot of students, I'm a law student myself, and I'm a little concerned about how that will affect my career prospects in New Zealand. Does it mean that potentially law firms in New Zealand might be less willing to hire from the University of Auckland? Does that affect our standing with and our competitiveness with other universities and other law students?
Well, this is a personal view. It's not an unusual arrangement, and very well ranked and well respected law schools across the world are part of broader faculty arrangements without appearing to impact in that way. And the law school of the University of Auckland is the leading law school in New Zealand. It's well ranked. We have excellent academic staff and excellent programs, and I see the prospects for graduates of the University of Auckland Law School to be very positive.
Quality of the qualification will continue.
Yes.
You carry with you when you graduate.
What about the qualifications of students who are graduating under a Bachelor or Masters of Commerce under the same faculty arrangement, if the proposal were to come through?
This proposal isn't impacting any of our qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
So just to clarify then, the degree itself, so the students current students and future students coming through, their degree structure, the degree name, everything will remain the same?
Yes.
This is why I want to go back to talking about, the pastoral care systems and the professional teaching staff, because that is what we're hearing. There's going to be a change in academic leadership and such, but from a student point of view, I'm seeing that I will be negatively impacted, unfortunately, because of possible cuts and possible, just no funding put towards our careers in particular. I do want to note that in particular with the law degree, it is one thing to go to class and have the academic side of things, but it is a whole other elephant to eat in finding a job as well in this market. And so I do want to commend our careers team, Kylie and Amanda, for doing an incredible job in providing programs for students in that sphere, as I'm sure in business they do as well. So I want to go back to that. And I just want a bit more clarity, because I feel like we did get an answer earlier in regards to what will happen around the professional staff there, and you did mention, Adrian, that it could possibly just be, regardless of this merger, there will be changes in that area. But I wanted to touch base on that. Is there going to be a level of consultation or a level of specific, I guess, interest in making sure that that will be still in place and to a level or quality at which it is right now?
And if less staff, then what is going to come in place of
What
that?
is the alternative?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're not in a position to provide any detail on that at the moment, other than what I alluded to before, actually, in that the law school and the business school currently put a high priority on careers advice. They've prioritised it and made investments in that, and I would expect that a combined faculty would continue to do so. In terms of overall professional staff, as I mentioned earlier, we are under pressure, and we are, having to look at our cost base across the university.
Okay. So they will, I guess, be effective immediately in July. There will be some cuts to staff and some...
It'd be if it's decided to go ahead with this, there would be a new professional staff structure.
Right. Okay.
And there would be a change to the organisational structure for the professional staff. I'm not saying that there would be a reduction in the staffing resource allocated to careers. I don't know that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that from what we can see already, there has been a high priority on those services from both faculties, and I imagine there will continue to be so.
Absolutely.
Just talking about the professional structure, we want to pivot a little bit and just ask, could you in 20 or so seconds explain how the deans of the various schools, how that's going to work?
So in the proposal, it's under the current proposal, the current dean of the Faculty of Business and Economics would be the dean of the combined faculty. And then there would be a dean of the law school who would report to the dean of the new faculty. And there would be an academic structure reporting into the dean of the law school. That might be two heads of department, which is what's currently proposed, or it could be some other arrangement depending on where the review committee, vice chancellor and council get to.
And then, so we're moving the dean of the current business school to the, potentially, if this goes through, the dean of the combined faculty.
Correct.
Even though they have very different focuses in terms of what the dean of the law school will be doing compared to the business school. I guess one question was, is this dean properly qualified to be a combined faculty dean, and how would any person be able to navigate those nuances between business and law and what's best for the faculty as a whole?
In this particular instance, the dean of the Faculty of Business and Economics is a distinguished professor of law. So I think right at the moment, the university is very well positioned. In the future, that might not be the case, and that in terms of deans, though, in other faculties, they have similar challenges. You have the dean of the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences having to consider the requirements of a wide range of professional groups. And other deans also have that challenge, and that is a leadership challenge that's quite common in universities.
Well, I guess a question that I have then is if you are committed to maintaining the separate identities and the autonomy of both the Auckland Law School and the Auckland Business School, then sort of how would that work under one combined faculty structure? Because I think the concern is that, especially as you've alluded to, the current law school is it's smaller in comparison to other faculties, especially the business and economics faculty. So then the concern is, and how can you guarantee that actually the autonomy of the law school in terms of funding decisions, in terms of academic decisions, all of that, how can that be safeguarded, the autonomy and the identity of that, how can that be safeguarded under this sort of business-centric faculty?
Yeah, so this will be complex, Matthew, because there is a difference between identity and autonomy, and there will be a difference between particular areas where there will be autonomy and areas where there will not be, I would imagine, in terms of a combined faculty. So to maintain the registration and our triple accreditation, there will, around a number of academic decisions, there would need to be autonomy. And in some other areas, there might not need to be autonomy to maintain separate identities and the ability to be accredited.
So I think that would really come back to our point about sort of the proposal now is not fleshed out. There's not a lot of detail or specificity to the proposal. And obviously with the consultation period ending in 5 days, I think the students would really appreciate sort of having more clarity around things as it develops, and having more opportunities to be consulted on these details as they come in, because like you said, there are a lot of nuances to how this combined faculty could look. And I think students need to be at the center of that conversation.
Could I just interrupt, going way, way, way back to speaking about the new academic leadership with Professor Watson being the new dean of this new faculty, proposed faculty. I guess what's the succession plan in terms of when and if and when Professor Watson no longer resumes the role? Will it be based on credentials again? Will it be someone who is a professor of law and business? Could you speak on that a little bit?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ifs and buts in there, and vice chancellors have those decisions to make and need to consider the needs of all of the disciplines within broader faculties when they make appointments. So I can't give you any more assurances than that at the moment, and that these appointments are absolutely critical to the success of any university, and so great care is taken around how the appointments are made.
That's good to hear. I just wanted to add, my particular interest in that is because we actually do work closely with these deans as student leaders, and they support us greatly in having a channel of communication between us two students. So it's important that we do have someone in these roles that understands where we're coming from alongside where the staff are coming from. Just wanted to clarify what I asked.
And actually, if I could just go back to the very first question about how different this is to the arts merger, I think we can all agree that was quite sort of a contentious topic within the student community. So I guess my question is, with this proposal coming in and having gone through the experience of the arts merger, what's something that you are doing differently to that merger? So not just sort of, I guess, an extended consultation period, but just when you are drafting the proposal, thinking back on the experiences of the arts merger, what have you been doing differently to make sure that this is, I guess, the student voice has been central to this conversation?
So I think in the new faculty arrangements, from my perspective and what I observed, is that we had considerable student involvement and student voice as part of that proposal development and consideration. The student members on the review committee, I thought, were outstanding and added considerable value in terms of where the review committee got to with its recommendations. And the student voice has continued into the design of some of the academic governance structures and how the the new faculty is looking to deliver on its opportunities. So
That's-
I think
sorry.
it's been good.
Sorry, I'm just going to need to cut you off there.
Yep.
I think
Sorry, could I ask
That's-
one yes or no question?
Okay, yeah.
Just a yes or no. In terms of the arts merger, would you say that all of the feedback received, was it a numbers game is my question? Was it, okay, there's overwhelming support, or there's overwhelming sort of negative feedback, and so we're going to go either or was it just kind of like is it a numbers game is my question, yes or no?
It isn't just a numbers game.
Okay.
So we do rely on the review committee synthesising their feedback and coming to a considered view.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's a great way to end it then. It's always important to make sure that the student voice is front and center whenever a university makes the decision, because ultimately the students are the consumers and we are the ones funding this decision. And yeah, I appreciate both of your time coming out today and talking with us. And thank you to the rest of the team for making sure the student voices were heard and adequately represented. So I just want to remind everybody that there's a feedback channel that's through the university. So that's on their website. It's quite easy to find. It's not going to be tricky. And that's somewhere where you can voice your concerns or any follow-up questions. Once we go, there will also be our email addresses and contact information on the final slide. So write that down. Shoot us an email, great job, you guys killed it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and take care. Enjoy the rest of your summer break.